morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids. And for those of us who are not aware, that's the second time I tried that. Welcome to a special Labor Day episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Cryon Media Network. Today, Kids and Cubs, is Monday, September 2nd, 2024, Labor Day. You may get the day off, but we still work for you. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him. Hey, Mr. Beaver. And with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. And for some reason, I have one strand of hair that's going off like a flying buttress. Right there.
There are worse things.
There are worse things. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. I am utterly disheveled. The kids demand fashion. I have to be just so. As you can tell, with me is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. Sir, how is your mental health today?
Well, sir, I think we're pretty good. Yeah, I think I'm good. Honestly, I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I know. I didn't. Well, my allergies are still kicking my butt, right? But
Gotcha.
I'm feeling emotionally well, which I
Okay.
think is good. A little stuffed up, a little sneezy. Slight sinus headache, but that's par for the course for my life. I mean, I always have a headache to some level or another. So, but no, feeling relatively positive about the state of my life, which is weird because I don't have a job. I have no prospects on the horizon. I'm going to run out of money soon, and yeah, I'm still in a good mood. So go
Sitting
figure.
on top of the world.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, good mood it's often the start of a good thing. So it's, the first domino. I'm glad you're feeling well. I had a weird day yesterday, mood wise. Yeah, it should have been fine and everything good, but I was not having it yesterday. I don't know what it was, but I was particularly ornery.
Well, that does happen.
Yeah, which is pretty atypical of me. But yeah, I was particularly ornery, and my beaver sweetie was very patient with me.
What was the cause? Was there a root cause, or was it just one of those things?
It was kind of just one of those things, but it was like, one of those days where you don't feel like anything. You want to do this? Nah. Want to do that? Nah. Want to do this? I hate that. Nah.
Yeah.
Like this, and then
Those are terrible days, right?
I
They
know.
really are.
You want to eat this? Nah.
Yeah.
I'm not hungry for that. And sort of like, he was like proposing a whole bunch of things, and then proposed that we like go out and spend some day at Big Sandy Bay Beach, and it's like, I'm not a big fan of the beach.
There's too much sand.
not sand. Like, well, I mean, it's you know, it's
Yeah.
I'm not a summer guy,
Yeah. No, I
right?
am.
I mean, I look around, but it's like I like fall, winter, whatnot. So like the concept of going to spend it all day out in the sun on the beach
Not for you.
is no. I mean, it's not terrible. There are worse things to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the U.S. Open's on.
Mm-hmm.
I could be watching tennis, right? So, and I'm not it's not that I've never gone south, but it's for me to say, let's go down south and spend a week at the beach. I have to be like really in the mood to just disconnect.
Right.
So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, it's like, okay. And then, do you want to go here, here, or here? And it's like, well, don't really want to go there because, wasn't quite sure if the Wolf Island ferry was working, which it is, the new one now. We
Mm-hmm.
saw it because we talked about it on the podcast, I think.
Yes.
But I think it's not on its regular schedule because the schedule used to be every 40 minutes and this one is every 1 hour and 20 minutes. So, and I'm pretty sure that they didn't get a much bigger, and an electric ferry so that they can haul the same number of people, but with fewer frequency.
Ah.
So there must be, I think there's some things about the terminals not being done or something like that, and where it is, it needs to stay. And I'm guessing that probably, if it's docking in another dock or whatnot, or the whole battery charging thing is not prepared, because when the ferry is going to be in the dock with people boarding in and boarding off, that's when the ferry actually recharges itself
Right.
at the other end. So maybe it's right now docking in the spot where it can't get the maximum, the charge is fast at the moment, and therefore it's taking longer. But yeah, it's the frequency right now is reduced, and I think that's where people are having a few issues right now.
Okay.
But it seems to be working. It is beautiful. It works well. It's really good, I have to say. But I was sitting there and I was thinking, okay, it's like I'm doing something I don't particularly like to do in all the places where it was offered me to do it. The one that I wanted to at least be at, I could be watching Paralympics. I could be watching tennis. I could be playing tennis.
Yeah, you were just not having any of it.
Yeah, I was just not having any of it like this. And he kept on trying, isn't this wonderful? Isn't this nice? And of course, when you're feeling ornery and somebody's being super chipper, it's just like, yeah. It's so, but
Shut up, shutting up.
I did get there. Eventually, it was my usual wonderful self, even though a little low energy. But yeah, I was not having it yesterday, and like I said, my Beaver sweetie deserves some type of award for putting up with my guff.
Fair enough.
Yeah. He tried so hard. And I was even a little
Pay for effort.
I was even a little cutting at times, so I wasn't the nicest I could be.
So you're being an arse, were you?
I was being an arse.
Oh.
I was. I have to confess, I was being a bit of an arse. Oh well. Fortunately, he still loves me.
Well, count yourself lucky.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Very. Fortunately, with me, that's not a feature; it's a blip. So that I think might make it a little easier to be patient with me then. All right, kits and cubs. Let's see. There is a lot in the news.
Dude, I don't want to do the pile on that everybody's been doing for that ill-informed individual, as described in the descriptor at the top of the show. There's so many people are just piling on this guy for his anger and ignorance, and there's a part of me that actually feels compassion for him because he's woefully ill-advised, blissfully ignorant, and believes all the lies that Pierre Poilievre spins every day because he's blaming the prime minister for things that A, are provincial, and B, have nothing to do with politics whatsoever. I got to pay $50 every time I go to the dentist. Geez, bud, you're doing pretty good. Because my plan made me pay it up front, and then I'd have to wait 3 months to get reimbursed. So if you're paying $50, you're way ahead of me.
Yeah. So for people who are not aware what it's about, the Prime Minister was in Sault Ste. Marie, and he was at Algoma Steel, and he was talking to workers there. And there was one person with whom he had an interaction that media is describing as, a tense discussion between two things. It was tense on one side,
Mm-hmm.
wasn't really tense on the other. And somebody put this out, which I thought was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Can you read the caption up here, Mr. Weasley?
The media is filled with one disgruntled, misinformed guy when the real story is everybody was happy to see him. One guy who was disgruntled and again, like I said, ignorant and ill-informed. He gets all the focus, and he's getting roasted pretty hard on Twitter right now. So I feel compassion for this guy because his ignorance and anger has brought him a firestorm of hate that I don't think he rightfully deserves. He's, again, like the convoy folks, ignorant and ill-informed and do not have any understanding of basic civics. It's like, yeah, and yes, you're right, Carol. I feel bad for people really suffering, not $100,000 a year guy, the ones who have no home, no food, no job. They have nothing. You're correct, Carol. Absolutely correct. But the guy just, he's digging his own hole. So that's where my compassion is. It's the firestorm of hate he's getting for this. I don't feel bad for him when he's complaining on my 40%. Bro, I wish I earned enough money to be in that tax bracket.
Well, that's the thing.
Highest tax bracket in Canada, by the way, is 33%.
Exactly. So here we go, Mr. Grizzly. I'm going to. Did I already send you a link?
Yeah, with Steve.
Yeah, let's do that one second. Let's do this one first and actually show the interaction.
Just a sec
itself.
Here. Pull it up. Yeah, it's about 1:21. Give me a sec here. Let's put this up, and we'll have a look at this. This is the interaction for those of you who have not seen it yet. This is from Yarrow Geisbrecht. Geisbrecht or Geisbrecht? I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but love to get Yarrow on the show sometime. So have a watch at this.
I'm fine. Just one again. Well, we got donuts over here if you want to thank you for your hard work.
I can bring some for my kids here.
Okay. The 25% tariffs we just brought in on Chinese steels going to help you out.
That's going to keep my job. What about the 40% taxes I'm paying, and I don't have a doctor?
The $400 million that we invested in the card means you're going to have a job.
Well, I think you're only here for another year. We won't see you around probably another year.
Well, that's what elections are for.
That's right.
And I look forward to everyone exercising the right to vote.
Yep.
And the basic choice. We're going to invest in you and your job. So
I don't believe you for a second.
Dental care? Do you know anyone who got dental care?
Yeah, I pay for it myself.
Okay.
We're like 3 years behind.
You have a job and coverage?
Yeah,
but we
four
got
people
seniors.
in my family.
We got
every time we go for a dental visit, it's costing me about $50 in my pocket per person.
Okay.
Why? I have a good job. You're not really doing anything for us, Justin.
Well, actually, we just invested so 500,000 people hadn't been to the dentist. Got to go to the dentist over the past few months.
Probably like my neighbor that doesn't go to work because she's lazy.
Well,
she just doesn't go to work. She lives the same life I do.
Most Canadians try to stick up for each other, and that's what we're going to keep doing.
Yeah.
Good luck, and take care of your family, sir.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right.
Have a nice day.
Have a good day, sir. All right. The other guys got the donuts. Excellent.
Okay.
So, the way he handled that was graceful, polite. Darn well, had it been Pierre Poilievre, the handling of that would have been completely different. He would have just dismissed him outright right away.
Yeah.
And sent him packing.
Absolutely. So the interesting thing that I noticed is at the end, as soon as he started turning with my neighbor who was lazy, Prime Minister was not having that, and it was the Prime Minister that ended the interaction.
Yes. Yeah, he wasn't having that, and I respect that. It's
because I was just like, it's like, you want to talk to me about what's going on with you? Yeah, you want to sit here and start bashing on other Canadians whose story you don't know? Yeah.
Well, and
no time for that.
No time for that whatsoever. And also, like, every time I go to the dentist, it's $50, bro. Count yourself lucky, okay?
Steve Boots will get to that one.
Yeah. Well, and we'll show that video in a minute. The other thing, though, he was like, I don't have a doctor. And why are you telling this to the Prime Minister of Canada? That's a provincial responsibility. Go to complain to Doug Ford.
Yep.
Once again, you're complaining to the wrong person.
Yep.
And again, I don't have sympathy for him. I have compassion for the firestorm of hate that he's brought upon himself for his ignorance.
Yeah. And then, if you notice right at the beginning of the conversation, like he says something to the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister starts to answer, and he's already talking all over on top of this, not listening for the answer at all, right? So
you can't reason with somebody who won't listen. So
asks a question, won't listen, says, you've done nothing for us. I pay $50 for my thing. I'm paying 40% taxes. My neighbor's lazy. A lot of people are sitting there going like this. And I saw in the chat there, somebody said, Kitlin, I hate to say it, but I wondered if he was really who he was claimed to be.
Yeah, and there's
because
a lot of that
in Canada, these types of incidents frequently, the ones that get recorded and go viral, frequently are not organic.
Right.
We find out later. And there is suspicion that this is the case here. I cannot confirm it. We've not received any confirmation. Oddly enough, no media who's reported on this has been able to track down the person and tell
he just seems to have disappeared.
Who they are. This is a tactic, this type of ambush while somebody is recording, because certainly this wasn't the Prime Minister's recording. So that guy was there, obviously, with someone who was there to record it. So, I'm gonna stunt on the Prime Minister and get this on tape, which is a tactic of, again. So this here is speculation, but the speculation is that the person who was interacting with the Prime Minister is not a worker from Algoma Steel, but this guy here.
Let's put this on the screen.
Oh, darn.
Oh, it just went away. I don't know what happened. James Oakley. Yeah, it's not him.
A lot of people saying it's not him.
I certainly don't think it is. He's got a different hairline. There's similarities, sure, but
he's got a different hairline. But you will notice that in the video, like this, he's got a baseball cap, so you can see his widow's peak.
Right.
When I got my hair like this, you can't see my widow's peak.
Yeah.
In this photo, he's got the hair a little spiked up and pushed over. So it could be him. If everybody's saying it's like the hairline doesn't match, the hairline, different hairstyles change a hairline. He said the chin's not the same. Well, there he's got a beard. In other photos, he doesn't have one at all. Right. A beard will change your chin line. So it could be him. Now, if it is him, James Oakley works for Mobilize Media Group and is from the Greater Metropolitan Montreal area. So probably not a worker at Algoma. He's been with them for 2 years and 5 months. And before that, he was head of media production at the Post Millennial. Now, that's if it is the same person. Now, the interesting thing about...
See, this is one of the things that I come with.
Yep. See, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
See, there's the widow's peak. But
yeah.
You will see there's the widow's peak on him, but you see that the other hairdo has the hair up and sort of bedheaded messed.
It could be him. I don't know.
It could be.
It could be.
Now, James Oakley from Mobilize Media, if it is him, this might be interesting to know.
Just a second. Jeff Ballingall. I'm very excited to be adding James Oakley to our growing team. Welcome to the team, James Oakley, Digital Media Manager. James Ballingall, of course, is the founder of Mobilize Media, but also the True North Network, along with Canada Proud and about a dozen others, I think.
And now here's another thing that will strike people as interesting. But if you were a group that was called Mobilize Media, you would think that you would be rather active, right?
Yeah, they're just really not active at all.
And somebody pointed out their Twitter account. And Mr. Grizzly, if you will put this one up. Joined July 2023, even though James has been working there for 2 years and a half. 255 followers and 91 posts.
Yeah, not very active.
I would assume that a media group that has the name Mobilize would have more than 91 posts in a year and 2 months.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of it all.
Now, we'll play the video from Steve Boots, and then there's a couple of other reasons to suspect this might be a plant, particularly when it comes to salary and paying $50 for dental.
Yeah, hang on, watch this.
I want to take a second to show you a clip of Justin Trudeau. He went to visit some steel workers in Ontario, brought them donuts. And one guy wasn't a fan. So this video is going around as like, steel worker owns Trudeau. So we're going to take a look at it, and I want to break down a couple of things for you. Let's go to the tape.
5% tariffs we just brought in on Chinese steel to help you out.
That's going to keep my job, What about the 40% taxes I'm paying, and I don't have a doctor?
So right out of the gates, the guy's mad at Justin Trudeau for his 40% personal tax rate. Reminder, the highest federal tax bracket is 33% on portions of taxable income above $246,000. The Ontario personal tax rates only go up to 13.16%. So the only way he's paying a 40% tax rate is if he is making more than $150,000 a year. Your heart bleeds for him. Except not, because he's lying. But also, he's going to complain about his lack of access to a doctor. A reminder, that's a provincial issue.
$400 million in invest in the card.
Yeah.
Means you're going to have a job for
I think you're only here for another year. We won't see you around probably another year.
No, that's what elections are for.
That's right.
And I look forward to everyone exercising the right to vote.
Yep.
Basic choice. We're going to invest in you and your job.
I don't believe you for a second.
Dental care. Do you know anyone who got dental care?
Yeah, I pay for it myself.
Okay.
We're like 3 years
You
behind.
have a job and coverage.
Yeah,
but we
four
got
people
seniors.
in my family.
We've got
Every
seniors.
time we go for a dental visit, it's costing me about $50 in my pocket per person.
Okay.
So now this guy's claiming that he pays for his dental care himself. That's a lie. Hey look, it's the dental plan for staff at Algoma Steel. So he's complaining about his lack of a dental plan even though he has a dental plan. Cool.
Dental plan.
I have a good job. You're not really doing anything for us, Justin.
Actually, we just invested so 500,000 people who haven't been to the dentist got to go to the dentist over the past few
Probably
months.
like my neighbor that doesn't go to work because she's lazy.
You
She
know
just
what?
doesn't go to work. She lives the same life
Most
I do.
Canadians try to stick up for each other, and that's what we're going to keep doing.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
luck and take care of your
Oh,
family.
no, I'm good. Thank you.
All right.
Have a nice day.
Have a good day, sir.
And like clockwork, he misinterprets love thy neighbor as hate thy neighbor for being lazy. Seems like a real prince of a fella. So to recap, lied about his tax rate. Blamed Justin Trudeau for his access to a doctor that he has no control over. Lied about his access to dental care. Called his neighbor lazy on national television. Seems like a great guy. So when you see all those "this guy owned Justin Trudeau" clips, just know that he's absolutely full of it. The guy, not Trudeau, in this specific case.
Yeah. I would assume that somebody who works at Algoma Steel would be aware of their dental plan if they used
One
it.
would think, yeah. Yeah.
Now, if I'm going to be charitable, maybe he is an Algoma Steel worker who is not James Oakley, and his deductible from his dental plan is $50 per visit per person. Because I don't know a dentist in the country who's offering services for $50 a visit.
Well, I'm looking at something here. I'm going to put
Just
on the
saying.
screen. This guy's living in a fantasy world because look at this. What you get at Algoma Steel, part of their agreement. Numerous health and wellness benefit enhancements and protections offered by the company in an effort to reach an agreement. Algoma's offer contains improvements to the collective bargaining agreement, including wage and cost of living increases totaling at least 12.6% over 3 years, plus increased afternoon, night, and Sunday shift premiums. Increases to employee benefits that include increase in the company's contribution to the defined contribution pension by a total of 45 cents per hour over 3 years. Increase in major medical benefits, including lifetime maximum and visit allotments. Increase in vision care. Increase in dental benefits, including improvements to lifetime maximum for orthodontics and crown coverage. Increase in short-term and long-term disability, reduced earnings caps. Increase in retiree health benefits, including increased lifetime maximum and more for hearing aids and eyeglasses. That looks like a pretty good plan, if you ask me. Because,
damn good plan. 12.6 over 3 years. That's 4.2% a year.
That's exceptional. Exceptional. If you get 3% at most companies, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah. So I would like to receive some confirmation at some point if it is possible. Don't know if it is going to be possible because, well, our media seems to be a little uncurious. Number one. Number two, there's part of me that does have an objection to going in and making an effort to try and unmask who this person is, because everybody's entitled to a personal life. And if it happens that this is not James Oakley, then, But unfortunately, the problem with an issue like the existence of Canada Proud groups and Ontario Proud groups who keep on staging stunts like this is that when a moment like this happens, assuming that this was a general moment and it was just some person who actually does work at Algoma Steel who is very misinformed.
Well, just reading here a post from Housing Affordability Task Force. It says Algoma Steel pays pretty well given it's in Sault Ste. Marie. On Glassdoor, which is a website that can tells you about what companies pay and what it's like to work at that company. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Glassdoor. Glassdoor, it shows you can make up to $115,000 in a non-executive position. Plug that into a tax calculator at Ernst & Young, and the average tax rate is 23.64%. Mm-hmm. It appears to be mad that as dental benefits have a deductible, is confused between average tax rate and marginal tax rate, and doesn't know that healthcare is provincial jurisdiction. I'm not sure why some people are celebrating this. It's actually really sad that our education system has failed this guy. You can tell he's going through some emotional distress. Imagine going through life mad all the time and not really understanding how the world works around you. Mm-hmm. Like, if he's mad he has to pay $50 each time he goes to the dentist, shouldn't he have empathy for seniors, children, disabled people who don't even have employment dental benefits and had to pay full costs? Mad about paying a $50 deductible, but also wants to cancel vulnerable people's dental coverage? Really? Really? He hasn't put all the pieces together yet in his mind. No kidding.
No kidding. So, yeah. But, yeah. The other thing is that the existence of these groups makes it so that when these events happen, particularly when somebody is this misinformed, particularly when, like, in their second or third intervention, it's like, well, you're only going to be here for a year anyway. Sounds like something a hyper-partisan would say. Sounds like the type of interaction that I have every day on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it looks and sounds like it's coming from the playbook.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It does. It really, really does. So
I could understand why people would be skeptical, and that's why I'm saying here I cannot confirm because no independent journalistic source, and we are not journalists.
No, we're not.
Because we can search web and stuff, but that's about it. It's not like we have like a fact checking division and and the legal team and all that kind of stuff. And so could be James Oakley, could be not James Oakley, but still a plant. He didn't seem. Nobody else there seemed to be interacting with him either. Like, hey, colleague.
Well, it's just one of the comments I'm reading here is interesting. He says the guy didn't acknowledge that the federal government is protecting his job from being lost to cheap Chinese steel.
Oh, that was the first intervention that the prime minister has said like this. And
Yeah.
you turn around. Oh, yeah, so that's going to help me keep my job. What about the 40% tax? Like he just jumped right. And wasn't even interested in what the measure on importing the 100% import fee on Chinese EV vehicles, which made in China.
Well, you can't have a meaningful exchange of ideas when one side of the ledger, if you will, one person just doesn't want to listen and refuses to acknowledge what they have and just wants to complain. It's like talking to a brick wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He refuses to listen. He's like, yeah, thanks for protecting my job. By the way, I pay this much in tax. Okay, 40%.
Well, that's the thing. It's like with all the numbers you are reading, it's like I understand. Like the highest tax rate kicks in, like the federal one kicks in at over $220,000.
Right.
It's every dollar over $220,000. Provincially starts kicking in at 120. But with that second set of numbers you read, if you put in that salary, the salary that you mentioned in, where somebody's paying 23.6. How much is he making if he's paying 40? Because it's at least 150, but it's probably way more than that.
Way more than that. Yeah.
Now, I'm sorry, sir, but if you are making so much money that you're paying a 40% tax rate and you still can't make ends meet.
That's a you problem. That's a you problem. I've it's like the there's a comedic bit about the Canadian fellow talking about Northern Albertans, and he goes on and he says, "You know who loves this joke the most? Northern Albertans." I'm not going to get into it, but he talks about the guy's $1 million in debt because he earns $350,000 a year, but he's got to sell his truck so he can buy a bigger truck. Got to sell a speedboat to buy a bigger speedboat.
Yes. The boy toys.
Yeah.
Yes. And there's other comments here in the kits here like this that they noticed. He's saying that he was 3 years behind on his dental payments with a salary high enough to pay 40% tax, which, again, don't know how many dentists. There might be some dentists out there that are willing to help people out or going through difficulty by deferring a bill or something, but 3 years worth for a family of 4?
Yeah.
For an Algoma steel plant worker, I'm sure the dentists in the community have a general idea how well they're paid. Because I'm sure he's not the only Algoma steel worker who probably goes to that dentist. I mean, Sault Ste. Marie. It's not downtown Toronto or the greater Toronto area. There's only a certain number of dentists in Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah.
Population.
Yeah. What is the population of the Sioux? Let's check that right now.
And then Kit Cassie, $50 is a low deductible. Most I know are 20% of the cost of procedure. Exactly. I don't know that many dental insurance plans that have a flat fee deductible.
71,272 people live in the Sioux.
Yeah. So
it's actually, so here's the thing. That's the 2024 population estimate. The population was recorded at 72,051 in 2021. Canadian census is recorded at 73,368 in the 2016. So it's actually dropped. So people have left.
See, Mohan wrote a comment, but I think I'm a little behind in my my reading. He said, "I do, Douglas. It gets you a place on a list that might result in you being contracted in a 52-week period, $50. Please let me know what you meant about that, because I'm sorry, the moment has passed me.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what that refers to, but
is.
it seems like it's something that's important that I should be noting. So if you can tell me what that was about, Mohan, I would appreciate that. Thank you so much. Kitland M, if he's being falsely accused, I would think James Oakley would be loud about saying it. We have not heard from James Oakley. Now, conversely, again, wanting to be fair and given benefit of the doubt, people have turned around and says, well, if he's not from the union, how come the union isn't out denouncing him? Well, I would assume it's because it's a long weekend and unions fought very hard for weekends, and particularly considering it's the Labor Day weekend. The union probably doesn't think it's the most pressing priority for it to come out and make a statement.
Yes.
It probably can wait till Tuesday, if at all.
Here's a
I would assume that the union is enjoying the fruits of their labor.
Yeah, the efforts it took to get the Labor Day, to get the weekend. Yeah, that's all union. You like the weekend? Thank you, union. You like a 40-hour work week? Thank you, union. That's all factual.
I'm hearing them talk like this. I'm saying, it sounds like you need a union. Wait a minute. Don't you have one?
Yeah.
Algoma Steel worker?
Yeah. Well,
there are some people that are pointing out also that it seems that, yes, exactly. Why does that lunch cooler bag still have a price tag on it? That's exactly where I was going. I can't see it in the photo, and I didn't actually see it in the video, but apparently.
It has a price tag on. So you're in the 40% tax bracket, and you're struggling to make ends meet in Sault Ste. Marie? Well, wait a second here. You look an awful lot like that Jeff Ballingall fella I keep hearing about. And why does that lunch cooler bag still have a price tag on it?
Yeah. So it's definitely not Jeff Ballingall.
No, it's not him. No.
It's like if you ever heard Jeff Ballingall speak.
Yeah.
That's not the same voice at all. But yeah. But it could be James. Could be James. Anyway, that's the sort of latest. And then, of course, if you're going around the web, you're seeing a lot of pictures of PP giving these press conferences and walking out and waving. And people are like, who's he waving to? There's like literally nobody there but the press.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are you talking like you're speaking to a crowd? It's like there's nobody there.
Well,
what's the deal, buddy? So
he's complaining, right? And he's a unionized employee with a very good health plan and pays $50 every time he goes to the dentist. He should be happy and thankful that he has a union to keep him well paid and employed, because Pierre Poilievre has been against unions his entire life. And look at this from Seamus O'Reilly.
Let's talk about unions. When workers organize and they come together, they can ask for more from their employer. That's why they form unions. In Canada, the average union worker made over $6,000 more last year than a non-union worker. But unions make some politicians nervous. The leader of Canada's Conservatives is terrified of them. He talks a big game about workers.
Politics is supposed to be a blue-collar job. Check out these boots.
But he spent most of his career openly attacking workers, trying to undermine unions. In 2005, he voted against an affordable childcare program because it meant sending paychecks to, quote, a group of unionized staff.
Then they're going to unionize all of the professionals who will work in these facilities and be faced with labor turmoil and potential strikes.
In 2015, he supported a law that made it much harder for unions to certify. If workers wanted to form a union, he wanted to drown them in bureaucracy. And in 2015, he supported another law that forced unions to show their finances so employers knew exactly what cards those workers held just when they went to the bargaining table. We struck down both of those laws as soon as we could. Pierre wants to bring right-to-work laws to Canada. That would encourage workers in union jobs to opt out of their union. A bunch of red states in the U.S. passed these laws to weaken the labor movement. And the average workers in those states, they earn less than the rest of the country. So much for powerful paychecks. So why are conservative politicians so afraid of unions? Not just Pierre, there's a long history of conservative leaders undermining workers. When workers organize, they push for things like childcare, dental care, health care, all programs that Pierre voted against. Getting your boots dirty doesn't mean much if you're coming to work to Ottawa every day trying to block the things that are making life better for working families. We've brought a national affordable childcare system to every single province and territory. And workers across the country in federally regulated sectors now have 10 days of paid sick leave. We did that because we're not afraid of unions.
I think that was awesome.
Yeah. That's the second time we show it because it's that good.
It's that good. Hey, look, if you want to do it nice, you got to do it twice.
Exactly. Yes, yes. By the way, welcome to Kit Lori Sue.
Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the
How
party.
you doing? I guess it says, by the way, I live in the U.S. Unhappily. I am embarrassment to live in this country. However, I shared this channel with 2 Canadian friends who are also of the same viewpoint shared on this channel. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for
We
joining.
appreciate it. And thank you for
Welcome to the
joining us.
party.
Welcome. Pull up a seat. Make yourself comfy. So, yeah. Yeah. Interesting little development there. So that's probably the big sort of Canadian political thing that kind of happened right now. It's just an opportunity to once again try and embarrass the prime minister somehow, who keeps on handling these situations really well. But of course, like we said originally when we showed the picture, that became the story, this confrontation. And it would seem to me that in this case, there probably wasn't that much media present. If they're taking, this camera feed, and so it seems like a situation where they saw a clip circulating on YouTube or on social media and decided to write a story about the clip instead of actually having been there and writing a story about the encounter as they saw it. Again, which is one of the laziest forms of journalism.
So here's another. There's more people saying this is James Oakley, and here's another thing I'm going to show you on the screen. From that angle, it does look a lot more like him. This is Crazy Canuck 13 saying the irate employee in the video refusing a donut from PMJT and trash talking to him is James Oakley, leader of mobilized media, storytellers who try to influence public opinion and rally change. Connect the dots, folks. He was a plant. Again, we do not know that that is actually the case. But more and more, sure does look like it.
Yep. Now, again, this could be an internet bandwagon thing.
Exactly, right?
Right. It's because, I've seen this at several spots on several accounts and people like taking the original screen cap where this came in and sharing it. So, again, has not been confirmed.
So apparently in that photo that we just side by side, that was Jeff Ballingall, not James Oakley. Apparently,
well, the one on the left,
yes, yeah,
it's Jeff Ballingall. The one on the right was James Oakley. So those are people are confusing. I mean, they kind of look alike a little as well, but not so much that you can't tell the difference between Jeff and James.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, just hair color is different, hair texture is different, and so and if you hear them speak, it's clearly not.
Oh, clearly, yeah. It's not. No, it's not Ballingall at all.
Yeah, but
it
would be ironic that everybody thinks, gee, that's Jeff Ballingall. It's like, well, it's not Jeff Ballingall, but it's someone who works for him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Really weird. Just really weird.
I'm missing the tag on the lunch bag. I'm trying to find that to look at the video again because I didn't catch that. And everybody's saying it's there, but I don't. Let me just check it here and see.
All right.
If there's a tag on the lunch bag, I didn't see it at all.
Yeah, I'm looking at.
And that still means nothing. So what? Maybe he just bought it that day on his way to work. Who knows, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is the other thing we can look at is at the lanyards. He is wearing one.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the same color? Yeah, it does seem to be the same color, though. So he has a lanyard with an ID tag. So maybe he's not.
Yeah, I don't know, right? He might very well be an employee.
Because, where would he get the lanyard?
Yeah.
And it does seem to match the one from the people in the group photo. So maybe he does work there.
Yeah. And I don't see the price tag on his lunch bag.
Yeah.
I don't see it. So I think that's just speculation.
So like we said, it's all of this is speculation.
Yes.
At the moment like this. But so there's points of evidence that would lead you to think that maybe he is. There are points of evidence, like I said, the lanyard and the card and whatnot, lead you to think that he's not. Eventually, if some journalist is interested enough in knowing, they will. But whether or not he works there, whether or not he's a plant, that's the secondary story. Mm-hmm. The primary story is that the Prime Minister interacted with someone who was clearly not a fan. And the media made that the story rather than the story of all the people in that picture.
Mm-hmm.
Who were quite happy. Listen, all of these people may not agree with the Prime Minister on everything, but they certainly didn't despise him to the point that they weren't willing to be seen in a picture with him.
Exactly. Exactly.
This number 2-1. But if it bleeds, it leads, right?
Yeah, well, that's exactly. Well, yeah, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah. We turn around. Oh, this guy totally owned Justin Trudeau. Want to see him murder?
I didn't see that.
There wasn't that. In fact, it was the Prime Minister. It's like, oh, okay. Basically, when he turned around and said, oh, well, in Canada, we stick up for each other. That's basically politicians who speak for, oh, you're one of those people. Okay, well, this conversation's done. We're done here. Thanks.
We're done here.
Because, and I mean, again, the other thing, if you are willing to film yourself on camera complaining to the leader of your nation, who also happens to be a leader of a G7 nation, my neighbor who doesn't work, you don't know why she doesn't work. Because if you're sitting there on national TV like this and having people videotape you calling your neighbor lazy, and you're doing this to go viral because you're having somebody record you, because what are the odds that you've actually had a conversation with your neighbor about what they're going through?
Well, again, like I said, I feel compassion for the man for the firestorm of hate he has brought upon himself. There's no one to blame but himself.
Yep.
I just don't want to be part of the pile on, is all I'm saying. I don't want to be part of that. Yep. I figure there's enough bullying that goes on every day in this world. I don't want to be adding to it. He's invited it himself, FAFO as it goes. There are consequences for your freedom of expression. Not everybody's going to like what you express. And if you say something that's controversial or flat out incorrect, people are going to call you on it. And that's when you're in the public square, in the town square, and you say something like that, and people point out that you are factually incorrect or lying, you got to deal with it. And if you don't have the skin for it, if your skin is too thin, maybe you shouldn't step up to the plate. I mean, if you're gonna pull a stunt like that, you better be prepared for the blowback, because whether or not you get support, you're going to have people who are going to hate you for it. Period. I mean, I knew when I was yelling at those people in the street that it was going to blow back on me. I knew. I didn't do it to go viral. It was never my intention. I just lost my mind because I hadn't slept in days, and I yelled at people because they were factually incorrect. They were in the wrong damn city for the wrong damn reasons. And I feel compassion for the folks who just jumped on that bandwagon, not knowing what they did to their lives. For the folks who threw their lives away for nothing, because all of the mandates were scheduled to end in like 6 weeks' time.
Yep.
So, complaining that you can't travel to the United States of America because you don't have a vaccine, that has nothing to do with the Prime Minister of Canada and everything to do with the President of the United States. Saying you can't get on a plane or a train because you're not vaccinated, well, those are safety measures. You drove across Canada. Nobody stopped you. You're free to roam about the country, but you might not be able to use these two types of methods. And there's nothing in the Constitution that says you have a right to get on a plane or a train. Nothing. You have the right to freedom of movement. How that movement happens, well, that's determined by you. And if you don't meet the criteria required to ride on a public institution or a for-profit institution, they say this is the requirement, and if you don't meet that requirement, you don't get to ride. It's just like when you go to the fair and you have to be this tall to ride this ride, because it's for the protection of yourself and others.
Yeah. Now, PP has another one of his slickly produced videos out there talking about Labor Day. A country is built by the people who rise when it's still dark. Happy Labor Day to all workers. Sign on to make Canada work for those who do the work. I hope that he learned from the Bring Home Home video that all his B-roll clips in there were from Canada, because I'm sure there's some people that are going to be looking. Of course, the video features him walking outside as dawn, when it's like really dark out, and as dawn's approaching, it ends as the sun is sort of coming up with his face sort of creepily smiling, as if he's one of these people who rise when it is still dark to do the work. He's literally trying to equate himself with them in this video.
Well, did you know that in Alberta, UCP renamed it to Alberta Day, not Labor Day? They tried to hijack that, and people are not having it.
Yeah.
Like, people are really not having it. And I'm like, even UCP voters are going like, hold on a second now. This is Labor Day. It's always been Labor Day. It's been Labor Day since we made it that way. It's going to remain that way. We're not changing it. It's about labor, workers, the people who built this country. Yeah.
Now,
you want to show this video?
I don't want to play the sound.
Okay.
Because
we don't want
what he's got to say is BS.
Yeah.
But again, these are the things that you look at with the sound off. And you can see what the story he's trying to tell is. So if you can play it, Mr. Grizzly. So here he is, right? It's not morning yet. He's walking somewhere in the middle of the night. You have all these people,
stumbling home,
custodians, truck drivers, hospital workers, construction workers that are working in the middle of the night. People are loading things. There's Pierre walking. He's not wearing the girdle on this one. Now he's like, taking advantage, exploiting homeless people living on the streets again, and showing some policemen because all the homeless people are criminals.
Yes.
It's lighter out now. There's people at the market. I don't know what market's open at 6 a.m., but there he is. It's getting lighter again. Looking hopefully into the future, into the distance, walking. Beautiful trees, beautiful sky, more foliage, sunlight coming through, and then a creepy smile.
No, I don't.
Boy, I've worked so hard walking. I'm just like you.
Lovely piano, sweeping piano chords. Oh my God. Often called ordinary people, but they are extraordinary.
Lenny would be proud. Wow. This is
extraordinary.
Hardcore.
So you're super ordinary. Not extraordinary, extraordinary, super ordinary. You're not just ordinary, you're super ordinary.
There's no one better at being ordinary than you.
Not just ordinary, extraordinary.
Oh, man.
He doesn't even realize how dumb he sounds, does he?
I know. But that's not the point, right? The point is to bypass the logic center and go for the feels.
Of course.
So people get mad and open their wallets. That's the point. All right. The other big political news is that the Governor General, on the advice of the Prime Minister, made yet 2 more Senate appointments over the course of the weekend. The first one is Daryl Friedhandler. And both of these are Senate appointments for the province of Alberta.
Correct.
Which clearly, I mean, the Governor General nominates 2 people to go to the Senate for Alberta on the nomination of the Prime Minister. Cue not like that reaction from conservatives all across the country instantly, and they did not disappoint. But before we get there, Daryl Friedhandler is a corporate lawyer, arbitrator, mediator, and businessman with over 40 years of legal experience. A King's Counsel and the recipient of several awards and recognitions, he has been a trusted legal advisor for a range of private and public companies, nonprofits, and projects, and has been actively engaged in the community, serving on the boards of numerous organizations. Pretty much your direct from central casting, stereotypical sort of resume for this type of thing. So there's not too much complaints about him. But the next guy, Dr. Christopher Wells is an educator, a scientific expert, and a champion for the 2S LGBTQI+ community who has used research and advocacy to help advance diversity, equity, and human rights in Alberta and across the country. For his contributions, he has received accolades that include the Alberta Centennial Medal and the Alberta Award for Study of Canadian Human Rights and Multiculturalism.
That's going to get the ire up of some UCP voters.
Oh, but it did. Oh, but it did. And if the name Christopher Wells rings a bell, that might be because, if I'm not mistaken, I think a day or two after Daniel Smith released that 7-minute video about what she had planned.
Oh, right, yes.
For
children,
transgender kids in the province.
And
I believe that. Pardon?
To that end, because we're speaking about transgender and how Daniel Smith is doing terrible things to children. Harry Potter tattoos have a higher regret rate than gender-affirming surgeries.
Okay.
Just came across the feed, and I thought I would share it because it was in the realm of what we were discussing.
Okay. Dr. Wells. Dr. Wells, if I'm not mistaken, is the person who had revealed to the nation that someone in their family, I believe his nephew, had committed suicide soon after that announcement.
Wow.
So, yeah, if that is indeed the case, and I'm trying to look to confirm if that is the case, but I do believe that that's how he went from provincial attention to national attention. It's the fact that he's an advocate for stuff having to do with the rainbow community. He's also the co-creator of Pride Tape, a campaign that encouraged NHL hockey players to use rainbow-patterned hockey tape on their sticks as a way of showing support for LGBTQ rights. He became a professor at MacEwan University and faculty director of the Institute for Sexual Minority Studies and Services at the University of Alberta. So he's one of these people with 23 letters after his name that Pierre doesn't like.
Experts.
Yes. In 2018, he was appointed MacEwan University's first Canada Research Chair and was the founding director of the MacEwan Centre for Sexual and Gender Diversity. He has served on various communities in Alberta prior to his Senator's appointment, including the Society for Safe and Caring Schools and Communities, REACH Edmonton, the Alberta Hate Crimes Committee, the Edmonton Police Chiefs Community Advisory Council, and the LGBTQ+2+ National Monument Committee. Now, with the pylon that comes from this, you have, the usual suspects. So, for example, Daniel Smith really seemed to have a problem with this because if you're not from Alberta, maybe you don't know this, but Alberta keeps on trying to trick its citizens into believing that they elect their senators.
Mm-hmm.
They keep on having these little exercises every now and then where they put people on a list and they say, like, vote for your senator in waiting. So in 2021, on October 18th, 2021, there was some municipal elections. And during the municipal elections, there was also a referendum, a plebiscite, and something with regard to senators where names were on a ballot and they were asking people to vote for their senator in waiting. And now that because one senator had retired and another one was about to retire, and all that type of stuff. Thing is that these are not elections.
No.
They're not elections. An actual election directly leads to a butt occupying a seat. Like in our federal elections, for example. You win that, your butt goes to the House of Commons and gets a seat. This is not an election.
No.
It's not even a plebiscite. Okay? The difference between a referendum and a plebiscite, they're the exact same operations, but a referendum, the result is binding. A plebiscite, they're just looking for your opinion. For the Senate, what happens in Alberta is they're basically asking for the opinion of residents of Alberta for names to be considered, put forward by Alberta, to be considered by the nominating committee for the Senate, who makes a short list, then hands that to the Prime Minister. And then from a short list, the Prime Minister makes a recommendation to the Governor General. And the Governor General appoints. See all those steps? In a federal election, you vote, Elections Canada determines who won, and that person goes and occupies the seat. It's not an election.
No.
It's like not even close to an election. Right? So this is part of the Harper grift that started almost 2 decades ago when he promised he can unilaterally change the Senate. Was laughed out of every room he said that from first-year constitutional law students. But took it all the way to the wall, went all the way to the Supreme Court, had his knuckles wrapped in a very, very, very embarrassing to him ruling. But for about 10 years, though, he fleeced a lot of money out of Grandpa and Grandpa. We need to fix this unequal Senate. We need to have senators for whom we vote because we need to be like the United States and have another chamber of parliament that's paralyzed by partisanship. That's what we need. Give me money. Give me your data, and I will make it happen because I alone can do it.
Yeah, only me.
Yeah. He couldn't. He lied. He got a lot of people to give him money based on a lie. It was fraud. It was the political equivalent of a greedy grandchild going up to Grandma and Grandpa and say, hey, this document here that I need you to sign is to make sure that you can get extra pudding at the home. And then the bank account is empty. Sorry, it's shameless. And even though it failed, X number of years later, every time there's a Senate appointment that comes from a non-conservative government. But we elected senators. Can you believe this outrage? You won't respect the will of the people. Give me your data. Send me your money. They're still fundraising off it. The Supreme Court of Canada ruled that it is not a thing. So they created this little performance art system to give the people the illusion that they're voting for senators, even though voting for senators is not a thing. And then every time they have one of these little consultations and the government of the day decides not to pick the person that they put forward, well, oh my God, it's another outrage. It's another affront to democracy. Vote for me. Give me money so I can fight us. We'll change the Senate next time. They can't do that. And one of the reasons they can't do that is that they're going to need the approval of a certain amount of provinces and of senators themselves to do it. And constitutionally, right, the Senate divides the country into 4 regions. One of the regions being Atlantic Canada. All the regions have 24 seats, except Atlantic Canada that has 30, because it had 24 seats originally, and then Newfoundland and Labrador joined. In 1949, Prince Edward Island has 4 seats, which is the minimum in the Senate. Newfoundland and Labrador had more population than Newfoundland and Labrador, so they had to give it more than 4 seats. They gave it 6, which raised them to 30. But every other region has 24, and each territory has 1. Alberta's in the western region that has 4 provinces. So, all 24 seats are not Alberta from that region. So, Atlantic Canada is not going to agree to lessen its power in the Senate when, other than the territories, it is the least populous region in a rep by pop House of Commons. Then there's Quebec, which you would think at first was counterintuitive that Quebec would be supportive of the Senate because, well, it's the royal chamber, and, well, Quebec is not all into that whole monarchy royal thing. But it is guaranteed to always have, before Newfoundland came and they added 3 seats for the territories, to have a quarter of the voice in the Senate. And that was very, very key to preserving le fait français and the cultural francophone aspect of Quebec. So I doubt very much that the province of Quebec is going to willingly say, you know what, yes, we're going to agree to a different way to formulate the Senate that will reduce our power and ability to protect the French language and francophone culture. It's probably not going to happen. So even if the process for amending the way that things happen in the Senate were as easy as the Conservatives have claimed
I would like to have
for so many years, they don't have the buy-in of 2 of the 4 regions. It's not in their political interest in any way, shape, or form. It's like that referendum they had in the state of Ohio, where before they had the vote on whether or not they were going to include an abortion measure on the next ballot, they turned around and they said, hey, citizens of Ohio, I know that usually it takes a 50% vote for you to put something on a ballot, but what would you say if we raise that threshold to 60? Would you agree to make it harder for you to put something on a ballot? And they said, nah. No, thank you. We're not willing to make it harder for us to get what it is that we've asked for the first time. Republicans. Nice try, but no. But no province, particularly one that has a huge cultural identifier, is going to agree. Yes, I would be happy to willingly reduce my power within the Federation. Yeah, just not going to. I don't know why Conservatives keep on thinking that everybody should just roll over to make their lives easier. Call an election now. Why? Because you want one? Jagmeet Singh, get out of that coalition. Jagmeet Singh, why? What's in it for me? You just called me a sellout before you asked me to do it. Why would I do that for you?
Mm-hmm.
The entitlement to even ask.
Yeah.
Just, it's mine. I want it. Let me win. Call the election now. You're weakest now. Call it now. Make it easier for me to win.
It's exactly what that is,
sounds
though.
Confident.
Yeah. It's exactly what it is.
Just give it to me.
I want it.
It's literally all this campaign has been.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Justin Trudeau's a big duty head. Everything that's wrong in your life is his. I want to be prime minister. Give it to me. So tired of this guy. I'm just so tired of this guy. Oh God, we have to handle him for yet another year.
Yeah, and don't forget his one of his minions, Andrew Scheer, and this is from Mark Garrettson, our friend Mark. Now everyone gets to see the real Andrew Scheer, not the phony who tried to play the middle ground when he was leader. Finally, he gets to show you the person he is. Dale Smith. Scheer knows how a Westminster Parliament works, but he's counting on you not knowing so that you can be angry about something imaginary. And Andrew Scheer tweeted, Singh has no mandate from the people to prop up Trudeau, cover up his corruption, and help him ram through his wacko agenda. It's time Singh put Canadians first, not his own pension. Polyev challenges Singh. No one voted for you to keep Trudeau in power. Okay. How many times do we have to say? It's not a coalition government to begin with, number one. Number two, even if they end the supply and confidence agreement, doesn't mean the government falls the next day. They have to have a non-confidence vote. And by the looks of things, I would say that a non-confidence vote would fall flat on its face because of the fact that you consider the Bloc, the Green, the NDP, and the Liberal are all voting yes on the most recent budget. The Conservatives voted no on every single thing. The reforms, I should say, because they're not conservatives, they're reformers. Or what do they call them? Social conservatives? So, I mean, they just carry on and they continue to lie and obfuscate and misdirect. And like you said, right here, he knows, Scheer knows how the Westminster parliamentary system works. He was Speaker of the House. He knows how it works. But again, he will lie and obfuscate like the rest of the reforms do because they want to keep you in the dark and make you angry at something that isn't there. They want to create a boogeyman for you to be worried about. I'm not exasperated, but I am frustrated. I'm frustrated that his lies go unchecked every day. And I'm talking about all of the members of the Conservative caucus that lie daily. They get to go unchecked. The media doesn't get access to them. And when they try and ask them a question, they get a response like, how many? How many? How many? How many? Where's the page? Show me the page. Tell me the page. And everybody's saying, well, he owned that reporter. Tell me the page. There's no physical page to begin with. It's a turn of phrase. You're taking a page out of his book. What page? Show me the page. You know there's no damn page. You know it's a turn of phrase. You're just being an obnoxious a-hole. This is not a man who should be running a country. This is not a man who should be running a Boy Scout troop. This is not a good person who has your interests at heart. Our home, your home, my home, let's bring it home. What does that mean? Bring it home. Bring what home? A powerful paycheck? After he, disintegrates unions across the country and you lose your collective bargaining rights. And then he cuts your taxes to the point where, he's basically cut all social services that the majority of Canadians rely on in one way, shape, or form. When he gets rid of childcare, dental care, pharmacare, and the school lunch program, are you going to be happy about that? I've got more money in my pocket. Yeah, but you have to spend more now because the social programs that we've had no longer exist. Welcome to America. It's a great place if you're rich.
Yeah. So with regard to these Senate appointments, from the breakdown, our friend Nate said, guest Erica Barutz will have to settle for a role with McCamey, which is absolutely not part of a larger group facilitated by Smith and her show on the Jespo network. It seems that there's somebody that Danielle Smith would have liked better.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who worked for her. Now, Danielle Smith's reaction, pretty much typical. What you would expect here, but here she is pumping the political fentanyl into the bloodstream of the province. Albertans' interests have once again been blatantly disregarded by... sorry, I forgot to do Danielle's voice. Albertans' interests have once again been blatantly disregarded by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Despite our province's repeated democratic election of senators in waiting, not a thing, ready to represent Albertans' interests, he has chosen to appoint left-wing partisans who will do whatever he and the Liberals order them to, because Stephen Harper never appointed any right-wing partisans who would do whatever the Conservatives to do, especially all the ones that accepted Senate positions for 8 years and are still there 15 years later.
Senator Huzakis.
Looking at you, Senator
Powers.
Bat Guano.
Yeah.
The Senate continues to lose credibility as an institution. It needs to be entirely reformed. Yeah, sure thing, Skybox.
We'll get right on that.
And then we got the wonderful Derek Fildebrandt. Trudeau just appointed a radical far-left activist to the Senate as an independent to represent Alberta. So a radical far. I'm guessing they're talking about the doctor who invented or who was a part of the Pride to Tape motion and not the other person, right? Yes. Chris Wells is one of the most extreme voices for shutting parents out of the lives of their own children in Canada. He spells Chris Wells CHRIS when Chris is spelled with a K. For Derek cared so much about the issue that he couldn't get the guy's name right. Chris Wells is one of the most extreme voices for shutting parents out of the lives of their own children in Canada, because he believes that children that go to school and ask their teachers to refer to them by a certain pronoun or a certain name should not be outed by their teachers, apparently. Yes, that makes him a most extreme voice for shutting parents out of the lives. Yeah, indeed. And then we get Robert Fife, the journalist, new, between Skippy air quotes, independent senator just appointed. Because it wasn't enough for Robert Fife to just report the news. He needed to color it. And not only did he need to color it, it appears that he needed to strategically edit it. Because when he shared this news, Mr. Grizzly, if you will put this up. So it's in really small type here. Hold on. I'll go a little bigger here for you. No, see, that doesn't work. It's everything on the side that gets bigger. Darn. So here, new independent. It's really small, but you'll see the quotes here. And then he lists this person's CV here. Vice Chair Revenue, Liberal Party of Canada, National Chairman, Laurier Club, Alberta Leadership Campaign Co-Chair, Paul Martin and Michael Ignatieff, Election Co-Chair, Federal Liberal Party of Canada, Campaign Chair, Calgary Mayor, David Bronconnier, Board Member, Epcor Centre for the Performing Arts, Governor, Alberta College of Art and Design, Trustee, Calgary Public Library. So some of these things are just community positions. Some of these are positions to do something with Liberals, but all the community positions, I mean, the College of Art, Public Libraries, Centre for the Performing Arts. We can't have that, can we? Problem is that had he gone at a different spot in the resume than from what he clipped, he would have also seen Governor of the Calgary Petroleum Club from 2008 to 2014, member of the Progressive Conservative Association of Alberta Finance Committee, the very influential Finance Committee from 2011 to 2015, with the Calgary Police Commission, Chair Calgary Economic Development Board. Oh, all of a sudden, those seem things that would be a little more attractive or appealing to the right-wing intelligentsia of Alberta. But the screen clap that journalist emeritus Robert Fife decided to use only included stuff that was liberal or artsy. They don't call him Fife the Knife for no reason.
No kidding.
He could have just reported the news, but he had to put independent between quotes and then selectively crop a screenshot so as that any evidence that this person may have had any ties to anything that was ideologically conservative, things that were supported by conservatives like law enforcement, petroleum, was anywhere in his CV. Not cool. Not cool. It's just not cool.
No.
At all. This is intentionally misleading people. Intentionally misleading people. And last I checked, journalists are not supposed to have a team other than Team Facts.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
So yeah, not particularly impressive. Now, when it comes to senators, we didn't report on it when it happened, but we mentioned a while ago, not too long ago, that our friend of the pod, Charles Adler,
Yes.
was recently
appointed to the Senate.
There is a little bit of controversy with regard to that. It led to the Manitoba Chiefs to call for his appointment to be rescinded.
Yes.
Now, it's according to CTV on August 20th. First Nations Chief in Manitoba are calling for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to rescind the appointment of veteran broadcaster Charles Adler to the Senate. The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs says Adler's past comments towards Indigenous peoples are grossly offensive and perpetuates stereotypes. In 1999, so 25 years ago, while working on a radio show in Winnipeg, Adler called Indigenous leaders, quote, uncivilized boneheads and, quote, intellectually moribund, among other names. That sounds pretty typical for what the conservative movement was saying about Indigenous people back then.
Yep.
Sounds like for certain conservatives that hasn't changed much.
Mm-hmm.
The current leader of the opposition, a while ago, said that all they needed was a stronger work ethic, and was really mad that he didn't seem to be getting value for money for legal tort settlements. Yeah. Grand Chief Kathy Merrick questioned how Adler, who was appointed to the Senate to represent Manitoba on Trudeau's advice on Saturday, could advocate for First Nations in a respectful way given his previous words. Quote, for comments like that to be made from someone that is going to be appointed into the Senate, it's not acceptable because you carry those thoughts, she said. It might have happened in 1999, but today it's 2024. We should change the attitude. In a statement on Tuesday, Adler said he is accountable for what he says and does. Quote, I've reached out to the Grand Chief and the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs to request a face-to-face meeting. I look forward to hearing from them, he wrote. The Prime Minister's office did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Assembly of First Nations National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepenak said it's hurtful when people like Adler are appointed to the Senate and that she hopes he makes time to meet with and learn from communities. Quote, we have to come to a better way in this country, she said. But at the same time, when things like that happen, it sets us back just a little bit. Angela Levasseur, acting Grand Chief of Manitoba Kiwatinowi Okimakanak, said to appoint Adler is, quote, to reward discrimination. Quote, you are rewarding stereotyping of First Nations and Indigenous people, and it's very shameful, and it's a dark day, she said. MKO is also calling for this appointment to be rescinded because on behalf of MKO nations, we are unbelievably and unequivocally offended. Now, about wanting to meet, CBC had an article that was from more the perspective of Senator Adler. Broadcaster Charles Adler says he's asked for a face-to-face meeting with the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs and its Grand Chief after the Assembly called for Adler's recent Senate appointment to be rescinded over what it called, quote, grossly offensive comments he made about Indigenous communities 25 years ago. Quote, I'm accountable for what I say and do, Adler said in a brief emailed statement on Tuesday, adding that he looks forward to hearing from the advocacy group, which represents all 63 First Nations in Manitoba. The article goes on to speak about Adler's decades in broadcasting and then what we read about in the previous article from CTV. Then goes on to say the Canadian Broadcast Standards Council dismissed the complaint back then, saying Adler, quote, made, quote, fair political commentary, noting in a 2000 decision that, quote, those who occupy positions of power on the reserves may legitimately be described on account of the decisions which they make as boneheads or intellectually moribund by opinion holders in the media. Which is true. There is, if you are elected to a position of power, if you have a position of power, people in the media are allowed to criticize your decisions. There are far worse things that have been said about people than their boneheads or intellectually moribund, like they're traitors, or they're seeking to get your kids hooked on drugs, or trying to unleash a whole wave of crime right before the election, because that's a winner.
Yeah.
People would intentionally, hey, you know what? We're down in the polls. Let's see what we could do. Hey, let's intentionally unleash a wave of crime. That'll help us. Said no political leader ever. Or at least in a democratic country. So yes, it is fair comment. Doesn't mean that it's fair. Let's put it that way. The council said if Adler had taken the position that Indigenous people who aren't in leadership positions are intellectually moribund, the attitude of this council would have likely been different. So making a difference between if you're saying it generally about all Indigenous people, or if you're talking about leadership of an organization that makes decisions that are supposed to be in the interest of its members.
Mm-hmm.
However, the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs said this week that Adler's comments remain hurtful. Quote, it's a great insult to First Nations people and a blatant disregard for the principle of respect, of equality and reconciliation that Canada claims to uphold, says Grand Chief Kathy Merrick. She disputed the Broadcast Standards Council characterization of Adler's comments as limited to political leaders, saying they referred to First Nations people broadly, specifically in his discussion about unemployment. In the Standards Council decision, Adler is quoted as saying, quote, there is an appropriate way that most of the members of mainstream society and many members of Aboriginal society have found to deal with anger about unemployment. There's a 3-word solution: get a job. Yeah. I think the Grand Chief might have a point. There. Before AMC issued its statement, the lone Manitoba member of Justin Trudeau's cabinet also criticized Adler's Senate appointment. Quote, there are many eminently qualified Manitobans who are better suited to represent our province than Charles Adler, said St. Boniface St. Vital Liberal MP Dan Vandal, whose cabinet responsibilities include Northern Affairs, Prairie Economic Development Canada, and the Canadian Northern Economic Development Agency. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Dan Vandal is Métis. Vandal served as city councillor and also ran for mayor of Winnipeg when Adler worked as a talk radio host in the Manitoba capital. The MP's office said he would not comment further on the Senate appointment. Adler, who was born in Hungary and whose family came to Canada as refugees in 1957, has been a broadcaster and writer for decades. According to his biography on a federal website, the Emmy Award winner has been a prominent political commentator throughout his career as a journalist, his bio says. He was appointed to serve alongside 5 other Manitoba senators, 1 Conservative, 1 member of the centrist Canadian Senators Group, and 3 unaffiliated senators. The article goes on to give us a little bit of civics about the Senate appointment process, which changed under Trudeau. So for those who are wondering, in 2016, Trudeau instituted a new appointment process that relies on an independent advisory board under which 84 senators have been appointed so far. The vast majority of senators sit in one of several independent groupings in the chamber. A number of senators from a conservative caucus, form a conservative caucus in the Senate. The Liberals said the intent of revamping the appointment process was to create, a more independent, less partisan, and more diverse Senate. Many independent senators say they do not have ties to the governing party and evaluate legislation based on their own judgment, often pointing to numerous amendments made to government legislation in recent years. Conservatives have consistently argued since 2016 that the process results in Liberal-friendly appointments. A number of recent appointees to the Senate indeed have strong ties to the party. A chamber recently debated a suite of new rules that give more power to the independent groupings in the Senate. Those changes have been met with sharp criticism from the Conservatives, of course. While fellow recent Senate appointee Moogly, that would be Tracy Moogly,
right,
previously ran as a candidate for the Liberals in 2015 and 2019 and has been a longtime donor to the party, according to publicly available contribution data. Adler has not run as a Liberal candidate, nor does his name appear in the federal contribution database.
Nope.
He was long considered a conservative commentator, but in recent years he's discussed moving away from supporting conservative parties because shifts in policy and approach in the last decade or so. So it's not that Adler is any less of a conservative than he was before. It's just that the conservatives who used to represent him don't represent him anymore.
Well, as he said a few years back, he says, and he he started to break down. He says, I didn't leave the party left me. The party that I supported for my entire life no longer exists. And it was difficult for him to come to terms with that, as many conservatives have also said. They've had a hard time coming to terms with the fact that, the party that calls themselves the Conservative Party of Canada is not. They're not progressive. They're not conservative. They're reformers, period.
Indeed.
They want a religious dominion from coast to coast to coast. They're Christian dominionist, and that's what they want.
Yep. Quick little thing that somebody, one of our kits, pointed out to us on our Facebook page here. Another reason for which Pierre Poilievre may be asking for an early election might be this.
Just a second, trying to bring it up here.
Mr. Grizzly.
Public inquiry into foreign interference in federal electors' processes and democratic institutions. Public hearings will resume on September 16th. Further information on times and dates will be available soon.
What are the odds that PP would really love to have an election before that final report comes out?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I wonder if Galen Weston is going to have a Memories of India sauce coming out.
Memories of Jaipur.
Memories of Jaipur.
That was a sauce I used to. I don't know if they still have it. It was really good.
It was. It really was. So yeah. And this was, who was it? Kit Deborah, I believe. Yes, shared this with us. And there's a press release that goes along with this. The public inquiry into foreign interference in federal electoral processes and democratic institutions will begin its policy consultations on Monday, October 21st, 2024. So the hearings start again on the 16th, but there's a portion of this that will be policy consultations specific. So they're going to be bringing people in to get some advice on policy as to improvements that can be made. The mandate of the Foreign Interference Commission has two aspects, a factual aspect and a policy aspect. The Commission's factual hearings will conclude on October 16th, 2024, so there'll be about another month of hearings. Under the policy aspect, which again starts about 5 days later after the factual hearings conclude, under the policy aspect, Commissioner Marie-Josée Hogg is tasked with recommending any appropriate means for better protecting federal democratic processes from foreign interference as described in Clause A1E, A1E of the Commission's mandate. The policy phase will include a series of roundtable discussions to assist Commissioner Hogg with the development of recommendations related to all aspects of the Commission's mandate. These policy consultations will include participation by numerous experts in subjects relevant to the Commission's mandate. Sorry, there was that word again. Experts, run,
oh my goodness.
Run.
Oh
the
my.
Format will enable them to discuss various topics of interest to the Commission in the context of its mandate. It's like, well, gee, if they're going to bring in experts, I guess the Conservatives have no choice but to declare the whole process a sham. Quote, hearing the perspective of experts in various fields related to the Commission's mandate is an important part of our work, said Commissioner Hogg. Along with the factual evidence the Commission will hear, the policy contributions from experts will help me shape the recommendations that I will include in my final report. Commission participants have been invited to comment on the themes and issues that will be explored in the policy consultations and to make suggestions on panelists for the roundtable discussions. The Commission's research team has also issued a preparatory document that identifies thematic areas that may be relevant to the policy aspect of the Commission's work. The document will be shared with experts in various fields for their comments and suggestions. The preparatory document was drafted by the Commission's Research Council and should not be construed or interpreted as the Commission having come to any conclusion regarding any aspect of the work. The policy phase for the Foreign Interference Commission will be held in the Banbrick Room at 395 Wellington Street in Ottawa and will run until October 25th, 2024. Discussions are scheduled to start at 9:30 a.m. daily. Members of the public are invited to attend in person. A live webcast of the proceedings will be available on the Commission's website in both official languages. Sign language interpretation, ASL and LSQ, will also be available. More details on the policy phase of the Commission's work are available in the Rules of Practice and Procedure for the policy phase. A list of experts who will participate in the Commission's policy consultations will be released in October. And then there's a final paragraph about, the government having created the committee in September 2023 to do whatever we know it's doing there. So yeah. That should be interesting. I'm actually really interested about these policy discussions specifically because while figuring out what is going on has some juicy details and some salacious stuff and, intrigue and headlines and whatnot, the policy is, okay, but what can we do better and what solutions do we have to propose to fix this? And I am hoping to everything, every deity in the sky, everyone, regardless of religion, that there's a portion of this that's going to have to do with disinformation. And making sure that Canadians are able to cast a fully informed vote.
Well, did you see what just happened in Brazil?
Yes.
Twitter is banned in that country.
Yes.
Because of the mis and disinformation coming across of it through Musk. And there's a warrant out for his arrest in the UK for egging on the rioters.
Yes.
And I think they have one in France as well. I could be wrong about that. But either way, he's found himself in a lot of hot water because he's not smart enough to keep his stupid mouth shut.
Yep. And things will really go if the Democrats should win the federal election in the United States. And they get tired of his crap and stop giving SpaceX government contracts. Just saying.
Oh yes.
Just saying. Yeah. Both his stock, by the way, stocks are not doing very well. If you look at Tesla stock, it's having a little rebound, but year to date, it's down 13.81%, which is a lot considering that the NASDAQ for the year is up only 1.13%. The Dow, is up, so only 0.5. Oh, wait a minute, that's not silly me. Year to
Looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah, the Dow is up 10.2% year to date. Because the NASDAQ is up 19.9, basically 20% year to date. But Tesla is down 13.81% year to date. Not great. And if we look at Twitter stock.
Oh, I don't know what that's worth, if it's worth anything. So there was a rumor floating around the other day that Mark Cuban might buy Twitter.
Oh,
I'm like,
yes.
Ooh, that would be good if he did, because Mark Cuban, although he is a billionaire, seems like a pretty decent human being. If you read some of the things he writes, if you read some of his posts, he's like, I'm about to, what did he say? I remember a couple months back, he says, I'm about to send a check to the IRS for something like $480 million in taxes. And he goes, and I'm happy to do it. He says, I'm happy to do it because I know that those tax dollars will go to helping others. I'm like, $480 million? And he didn't even bat an eyelash. He's like, I'm happy to do it. It's my duty. I'm wealthy beyond imagination. This is nothing to me. I'm happy to pay this. And again, that's the irony. $480 million is nothing to him.
I know.
I'm like, Wow.
Yes. I was looking for Twitter stock price, but then I remembered that Twitter no longer trades on the stock market. Yeah. But according to Business of Apps, Twitter review and usage statistics, this is from February 2024, so it's not recent enough, but not the most recent. It says that Twitter was acquired for $44 billion by Elon Musk in 2022. But in 2022, had an 11% decline year on year in the year that Elon bought it. I wish I could find. There we go. Here's a graph. So Twitter's quarterly revenue from 2012 to 2023. You'll see here that it's steadily growing very well up until 2022, which is right here. So Q1 of 2022, it had gone gangbusters.
Mm-hmm.
And
that
then,
was when the rumors.
Yeah. And then Elon bought it, then down.
He had a boost there at one point.
Down. So from a high of 1,567 in billions of dollars, because these are in value, to 505. So it's lost about 2/3 of its value. Way to go. Way to go.
How to kill a company.
Yeah, indeed. The last thing I want to mention before we go and celebrate our Paralympians is something that is going to should make you crap your pants, especially if you live in Alberta.
Oh?
Yes. It appears that there was a meeting that took place at some point, and some people voted on an Alberta Bill of Rights in the UCP.
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly sure how it all went down, so I'm going to check the breakdowns feed for this. But it seems that this was presented in a closed door meeting and that people voted on this, and that it was, after a couple of amendments, it seems, it was accepted unanimously. And it's been circulating. I do not know who circulated it or leaked it, because I'm pretty sure that the party did not release it on its own, according to the breakdown here. We've obtained the new Bill of Rights that was presented to the UCP board. The UCP board has endorsed this unanimously. Good news, the language around reproductive rights is softened a little. Bad news, the rest of it, largely. And Mr. Grizzly, I will put this up, and bear with me, because there are 22 clauses in this.
Oh my.
And
22?
22. And please be prepared to be very concerned.
Well, you should be very concerned, because when you read this, as I have just the other day, it was like, oh, crap. They are creating Gilead right in front of us.
The document says, the rights, freedoms, and responsibilities which are affirmed in this Alberta Bill of Rights, freedoms, and responsibilities are affirmed for people in Alberta, absolute within their defined limits, expansive beyond these minimum extents, not diminished by their order of listing, and, as part of the Constitution of Alberta, have supremacy over all other subordinate legislation. But they will still be subordinate to the Canadian Charter of Rights.
Mm-hmm. Don't tell anybody.
The part they won't tell you. The minimum extent of each of these rights, freedoms, and responsibilities for people in Alberta are defined in the Schedule to the Alberta Bill of Rights, Freedoms, and Responsibility. 1, freedom of religion, belief, and conscience. Hopefully that includes freedom from religion as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully. 2, the right to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness.
Excuse me, isn't that lifted? Okay, yeah, keep going.
They added property to it.
Yeah.
Yes. 3, freedom of speech, expression, and from private or public censorship in any form. Freedom from private censorship?
I don't know what that means. So they're going to tell
for
somebody
example,
who owns
like-
a company that you can't?
Yes.
That sounds like government overreach to me. That sounds like dictatorship when they tell a private company.
Government-mandated speech.
Yeah.
So under this type of thing, if we were operating in Alberta, would we not be allowed to block or ban? Would that mean that UCP MPs would not be allowed to be blocking or banning anybody from there? Because that certainly would be censorship of speech by a private organization or party, wouldn't it be? There's a lot of these things that are written, which you can easily think of a scenario where you didn't really think this through now, did you?
No.
4,
I think this is written by the same people who wrote the MOU.
Yes. 4, freedom of parents to make decisions concerning the health, education, welfare, and upbringing of their children. Well, we know they already don't believe in that.
No.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're the parents of a transgender child who agree to certain medical interventions, well, Danny doesn't believe in your freedom to make decisions concerning the health, education, welfare, and upbringing of your children. She's going to come back, and one of her first priorities is to insert a pastor between a family, a trans child, and their doctor.
Yeah.
We already know that 4 is bullshit. 5, freedom to keep and bear arms, including ownership and use of firearms. See, I'm always a bigger fan of the right to bear arms.
Yeah.
Than bear, B-A-R-E, arms.
Mm-hmm.
6, freedom to keep and own private property, including land, livestock, and chattels. We have no property rights in Canada, constitutionally. 7, freedom from supervision, surveillance, and unreasonable search and seizure. Oh boy, there's a couple of members of Calgary canceled. Okay. Freedom of mobility, including to enter, to remain, to move about, to leave, and return to Alberta. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Freedom to remain silent under questioning, detention, arrest, or at trial. 10, freedom to consult legal counsel and to be properly informed of such right. 11, freedom to demand natural justice and procedural fairness in all criminal and civil matters, and to demand compensation for denial or infringement of rights by a person, a corporation, or a government.
What is natural justice? Is that an eye for an eye? I mean, natural justice?
That's a term I would really like for there to be very precisely defined.
Yes. Natural justice.
12, freedom from arbitrary detention, to be presumed innocent in criminal proceedings, to be provided with full Crown disclosure, and to be tried within a reasonable time. 13, freedom to democratically elect and recall legislators by voting through secret paper ballots and to be manually hand counted. Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's shades of the United States, eh?
Yeah.
The election was rigged because the ballots went through a tabulation machine.
It's number 14 that I get really...
Yes. 14, freedom to use sufficient force to defend person, family, home, and property from any and all occupation, theft, or destruction. That sounds like a stand your ground law.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Doesn't it? Because, and back to 12, when they say to be tried within a reasonable time, of course, that is a constitutional right that everybody has. But considering that they were considering the Coots people as political prisoners that had been held so long against their will until the trial, because, it was a very, very complicated trial because it was a conspiracy to murder police officers trial. So, it took a while, and some of the people accused had stuff like pipe bombs and stuff. So,
semi-auto.
Yeah.
Flak jackets.
But yes, so I'm sure that's a little toss of red meat.
Mm-hmm.
There. Yes. 15. Freedom of informed consent and to make personal health decisions, including to refuse vaccinations, medical, or surgical procedures.
Okay.
16. Freedom to peacefully assemble, associate, and protest, except if you're protesting for the environment or you're indigenous or black or gay. But convoys are great.
17 kills me.
Convoys are great. I feel like one of those BuzzFeed things.
Mm-hmm.
Read the 22 clauses of the Alberta Rays of Light. Number 17 will shock you.
It's like, where did they get that from?
Yes. 17, freedom from excessive taxation and from taxation without representation. That's because your equalization thing failed, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, the taxation without representation. Excuse me. In Canada? What are you talking about? They don't know what country they're in, do they?
No. 18, freedom from discrimination, including upon the basis of diversity, inclusion, or equity.
That could be interpreted any one of a dozen different ways.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. It's sort of written to make people think, oh, freedom from discrimination based on traditional diversity, inclusion, and equity. And of course, they write it D-I-E instead of D-E-I, just to make it a little different, right?
Yes.
Die. Because that's not subliminal.
Yeah.
No, not at all. But it could also be, wait a minute, if you're a white person that was discriminated against because somebody applied some basis of diversity, inclusion, or equity, we're there for you.
Mm-hmm.
That could be the punctuation and word choice and order and grammatical structure of that would have a couple of lawyers pulling out their hair. It's the same. 19, freedom of access to financial services. Gee, I wonder what that's about. To goods and services and conduct commerce via bills of exchange.
Okay.
Something about frozen bank accounts.
I think so.
I would think so, yes. Freedom to access financial services. 20, freedom to demand independent public inquiry into the conduct of legislators, judges, and other government-appointed officials, except if you're Danny and we're asking about Skybox suites. Then you lose your job.
It's 22, the right of official languages.
Yes.
What the hell does that mean? What does that mean? The right of official languages.
Don't know.
I don't even... What does that mean?
Don't know. 21, freedom to access government services and government information. And 22, the right of official languages. Don't know. Your provincial board of directors is very impressed by the work done. Your provincial board of directors is very impressed by the work of these fellow UCP members and voted to endorse verbatim the document they shared with us. We are determining the best way to share this with you and seek your input and perhaps consideration for approval as representing our full membership, perhaps at our upcoming annual general meeting. That's a lot of perhapses. Mr. Grizzly, thoughts?
Is this written by the same person who wrote the MOU? Like, I'm serious when I ask that question, because this is just they just lifted a whole bunch of stuff from the United States of America and tried to transcribe it into Canada. When you read this list of rights, as they call it, it makes me think they're looking for a Wexit, right? And remember, they can't do that. Remember why? Oh, this is why. All of the province of Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Northern Ontario, including the Northwest Territory, a portion of Yukon, and a portion of Northern British Columbia, are all treaty territories, numbered treaty territories. You can't go anywhere. You can't Wexit, as they say. You want to exit Canada? You're free to leave, but the province can't. It's treaty territory, which means you'd have to have every province sign on to allow them to leave, number one. Everybody has to agree to it, number one. Number two, the Crown would have to agree to it, which is never going to happen because King Charles, like him or not, still part of our institution, is very much aware of what was done to the Indigenous people of North America. and around the world for that matter. And he's very much on their side. And then you'd have to go to the band leaders of each treaty and say, yeah, we'd like to. And they'd be like, no, this is my land. Go away. You're free to leave, but Alberta's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And they fail to realize that. But that's when you read that declaration, if you want to call it, that's what it sounds like to me. It's that they're getting ready to do a Wexit, which, as we all know, just is impossible to happen. The way the system is set up, the agreements that are currently in place, the treaty territory, the numbered treaty territories. No, you can't do it. You cannot do it because it can't happen, because it's impossible to happen. To make that happen, so many things would have to line up in their favor, which is not favorable to the rest of the country. It's not favorable. Number one. Number two, how are they going to get their stuff to Tidewater?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all on treaty territory again, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, we'll just take a portion of northern Saskatchewan and northern Manitoba and northern BC and just ship it straight to Tidewater. No, you won't. No, you won't. If a pipeline gets through there, it's because you have agreements with the bands on that treaty, on that territory. You can't just do what you want to do. There are agreements that are historic. And look at some of these. They go back to 1908, what does that say?
1876, 1874, 1871.
1899. Yeah. Yeah, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, indeed. So there will definitely be more to this. My favorite comment about it was from Joey Oberhoff. Total number of responsibilities listed, 0. This was written by a churlish 15-year-old with ChatGPT and a Fox News subscription.
That's what it sounds like. That's exactly what it sounds like.
Oh, man. That's perfect. That's perfect. All right. So there's, I've seen some kids in the chat. They're talking about what went on in Germany with the AFD. I don't know enough about it yet to actually relate anything intelligent, but I will have it in another episode because that is big news over there. But the short version is that there were some smaller elections, either state and municipal or something like that, or I think state, because the AFD won the vote in one of them and finished second in another. They don't have a majority, so other parties are looking at ways again to unite, even in sometimes uncomfortable ways, so as to not work with them and deny them the power. But yes, it's a little concerning. Very, very concerning, actually, more than a little. All right, let's get to the fun portion of
We're going to have to wrap
our
up
show.
shortly. I've got to take the dog out. She's getting a little antsy.
Yes. The fun portion of our show, because the Paralympics kept on going, and we're on, I think we're on day 5 of competition now.
Mm-hmm.
And Canada has an output of 2 medals a day, it appears.
That's fine.
It's been holding true to that. We already have our 2 medals for today. So we started off with 4 bronze in a row, and then we got 4 silver in a row. And I was sitting there, I was thinking, okay, so I guess now it's time for 4 gold in the row, to complete the set. Unfortunately, not yet, but 2 more medals, 2 more bronze. So we have 10 medals in total, 4 silver, 6 bronze. Absolutely fantastic for our athletes. And I'm just going to give some shout outs if I can do that and bring them all up here for you. I had them listed on my phone for all of you to find them very easily. So there we go. Do I have them? Or did I close it by accident?
I don't know.
Darn. I think I did right here. So silver medalists, Nicholas Bennett in para swimming, the 200-meter freestyle, men's S14 class, took silver. Tess Routliff, who I'd mentioned before because she's the sister of Erin Routliffe, who plays tennis for New Zealand, but who is Canadian Gabrielle Dabrowski's partner. She took home a silver in paraswimming, the 200 IM women's SM7 class. Aurélie Rivard won a second medal, becoming the first multiple medalist for Team Canada at the Paralympics, to go with her bronze just of a couple of days ago. She picked up a 100-meter freestyle women's S10 silver. Brent Lakatos, very, very, very well-known name in para-athletics for Canada, took a silver in the men's 400-meter T53 final. I believe that's wheelchair racing. Mm-hmm. As we mentioned before the weekend, we had Kate O'Brien in paracycling, who had won bronze in the 500-meter time trial, women's C4-5. That was Canada's first medal. Aurélie Rivard's first medal, which was bronze in the women's S10 50 freestyle. And then we had Keely Shaw, who won the 3,000-meter individual pursuit, women's C4 in paracycling, got a bronze there. A bronze for Alexandra Hayward in paracycling for the men's 3,000-meter individual pursuit in the C3 class. Leanne Taylor, who I think this is from this morning, took a bronze in the para-triathlon. Mm-hmm. Very well done. And then Austin Smink, who in para-athletics took the 100-meter bronze in the T34 class. So, and hopefully, Kits and Cubs, I will have pictures and images for you in future shows because I don't want to just say their names. You should see their faces as well. But there you go. Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
We do indeed, sir.
All right. Kits and Cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we loved making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. If you would like to support us, for example, by subscribing and making sure that you don't miss an episode, well, you can do that thanks to the Ray Girl. She sponsored our pod page. That's podpage.com/The True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And if you click on subscribe there, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, boom, right in your inbox. Don't even have to go looking for it. It's right there for you. Wait, there you go. And if you would like to support us in yet another way, well, then you need to make like Kit Lane and have a terrific day. But before you do that, surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, Kits and Cubs. And there we have 3 buttons for you. We have like, share, and subscribe. If you click them, it makes us very, very, very happy. And sorry, if you see me doing weird things with my eyes, it's because there's a fruit fly that keeps on passing right in front of me. And it's like, hey.
They're so annoying.
They're really annoying. But Mr. Grizzly, I think we have some news about the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page.
Yeah, we have, since I started the promo for a specific video, and that specific video was the one from last, hang on, I'll tell you which one it was from last week. It was the show we did on, was it Monday? Hang on a second here. I'm trying to find it. Just give me a second. I'll tell you. It's from the show we did that says UCP is bad for your health. Promoted that video for $35 a day, I think it was, or something like $5 a day. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, promoted the video, and as a result, 10,329 people have subscribed to the channel in the last 5 days. We have doubled our almost doubled our subscriber base in 5 days. So we're pretty happy about that, to say the least, and say thank you to each and every one of you for doing that.
Thank
you for signing up, for joining, for subscribing. Yeah.
Makes me so happy. And hopefully, like I said, that will, we're noticing a slight change in our viewership numbers. Not enough that for me that would reflect the number of subscribers. So again, not exactly sure how YouTube is doing this and how many we're getting from Canada versus other places, because sometimes we promote in Canada alone, and sometimes we promote broader. to get more English language speaking people from around the world. So, not sure what proportion is which.
You do have to remember, of course, that because there's different time zones around the world. Some people are watching they'll watch the show later in the day. They can't join the live feed because it's just prohibitive for them to do that. But if we get more people watching, that's what we're happiest about. So thank you for subscribing. Feel free to join if you like. You can join the channel for the entry tier level is $3.99 a month, and we are preparing and creating new content specifically for those members. You may have seen some of it already, the Grizzly Growl and the Beaver Tales. More content to come. Not daily, but we produce extra content when and where we can. And I do have something to share with you that Miss Shatika sent to me. She wanted to send me a picture of Milo. Milo is an ally.
Yes. Yay. Thank you so much, Milo. Ah, I like that. What a pretty kitty. Who's a pretty kitty? Oh, I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I saw this thing the other day on the internet. There's, every now and then you have like a timeline cleanser. And it's this man who's playing guitar for a little tiny little kitten. The little kitten's just like sitting there watching him. And it's like closing his eyes going, oh yeah, that's the good stuff. And again, yeah. And it says, you see, animals can enjoy music too. It was just the cutest little thing. The kid was like so wee small. It was just like, yes, play for me. I like that. That makes me very happy. Oh well. Okay, if you would like to support us in yet other ways, there is the coffee page. Yes, that's where you will find our tip jar. So if you scan that QR code that Mr. Grizzly is pointing to rather enthusiastically, that will bring you there. And you can, if you have a little bit of money in your pocket and you would like to encourage us to do more because you enjoy the quality of our product, then we would be very, very happy to receive your donation because, as Mr. Grizzly mentions, there are costs associated with putting this on, and we try to keep the main show free and accessible to everyone, and that's why we're doing bonus extra content rather than putting everything behind a paywall instead. So if you would like to help us, we would really appreciate your donation. You go to ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word, and like I said, you will find our tip jar there. Our recommended donation is $3, but you can give what it is that you like, less or more, doesn't matter. And we appreciate absolutely everything. If you are not able at all to give us anything, that's quite all right.
Your time is what is most important to us.
Exactly. The gift of your attention is the one that is the most important to us, and the gift of your participation when you are here in the chat with us, watching live, or if you watch later and you submit a comment afterwards, or if you submit us an idea, you send us some information, a story article, something that you think that we should see and bring to the kits. All of that means the world to us. When you retweet us, we appreciate that, especially when you retweet us and you write something on top of that, because that's your word of mouth. Like I said, we can't buy that. We can't buy that the value of that publicity. So all the things that you do all along the way, in every single way, all helps us. We are very grateful. So thank you very much. But of course, send me money.
Well, it's to keep the show operational. I mean, like I said, I don't have a job right now, and I don't know what I'm going to be doing because I keep getting job offers to do what I used to do 3 years ago. I cannot do that work anymore, and I'm beginning to wonder what is going to become of me because I physically cannot do construction anymore. I can't do it. My back, my knees, my shoulders are done. And I don't want to sacrifice what I've got left to keep a roof over my head. If I can't walk in 10 years' time, how is that a quality of life?
Right.
So I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I might seek a sales position somewhere. I honestly, it's beginning to become a concern to me. I don't know how I'm going to keep a roof over my head because I am running out of money and I don't have anything coming in. Now, I can apply for EI, but that's... It's less than CERB.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to do a hell of a lot for me. And I'm still fighting with CRA because they seem to think I owe them $14,000, which is just simply not possible on my income.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a mistake somewhere and I can't seem to figure it out, and I need to talk to the accountant. So, there's all these levels of stuff that are happening that I'm trying to keep my anxiety in check as a result. But it's starting to get, here we are, we're September, and I have to make a few phone calls and send out some emails today and see if I can find something that I am capable of doing physically that isn't going to harm me anymore. I mean, you can ask Mademoiselle Fox about how difficult it is for me to get up off the couch some days or get out of bed. Well, you've seen me struggling just to get off the couch.
Yep.
You've seen it firsthand.
I've seen it.
This is what I'm dealing with, and it's like I want to be able to continue to have a decent quality of life. It's like sports. The only thing I can do without harming me is skiing. That's the only thing I can do. And I don't do the moguls. I don't do jumps. I don't do any of that stuff. But I can't play hockey anymore. I'm a goaltender. How am I going to play hockey with a bad back and bad knees? Right?
Mm.
So I just don't know what's going to happen to me. And I've been trying to come up with, what is my next move, and I don't know. So today will be a day of sending out some emails and reaching out to people and finding out what is available. What can I do?
Right.
Right.
Indeed. I hope so for you too, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Grizzly. Let's see, because democracy is something that you do. Get ready for the by-elections. We're in the by-election month for the federal ones, at least. Those will happen on September 16th. So if you're in Elmwood Transcona in Winnipeg, and if you are in La Salle-Ville de Mar, Verdun in Quebec, please find out what you can do to support your candidate of choice or support the voting process by volunteering to work at a polling station, for example. We need you. So thank you very much for all that you do there. Interesting. There was some interesting commentary if you haven't listened to the most recent The Bridge with Peter Mansbridge, because they had their weekly, what's normally their weekly feature with Chantal Hebert and Bruce Anderson, basically just generally commenting. And yes, they were mentioning how even though everybody's framing this as a test for Justin Trudeau, particularly in La Salle-Ville Mar, Verdun, because it's considered to be a safe Liberal seat. Elmwood Transcona is considered to be a safe NDP seat as well. So we could have a situation where the NDP wins in La Salle-Ville Mar, Verdun, but loses in Elmwood Transcona, which would be interesting. They could have a situation where the NDP loses in both seats and is down one seat, which would shift the narrative to not only, is Justin Trudeau going to stay, but is Jagmeet Singh going to stay? Because that could happen. If Justin Trudeau happens to win in La Salle-Ville Mar, Verdun, and Singh loses in Elmwood Transcona, that shifts all the heads just snap, boom, left. Nobody will be talking about whether or not Justin stays on. Well, some people will, because they will say the margin of victory wasn't big enough, so he's got to go. They will move the goalposts. But if Jagmeet Singh is the one that ends up the big loser on that night, there will be a lot of attention, because it seems to be general consensus all throughout the media. Even Chantal Hebert and Bruce Anderson are like, we don't know what this guy's doing. And this will come on the heels of a recent poll by Léger that some people are thinking might be an outlier, but that has the NDP at 15% support right now, which is the lowest it's been in a very, very, very long time. This one might be an outlier, but 15 is really not good. The NDP, and NDP over 20 is what they usually hope for, at least going in. 18, 19 is great, does well. He, might retain the same amount of seats with 18 or 19, depending how regionally concentrated the vote is. But 15, that's getting close to being wiped out. So 15 in a poll and a loss in a by-election in a seat that's been in NDP hands, well, probably more in the Blakey family hands for about 40 years specifically, could be an issue. for him. And of course, if both leaders lose their gambits, because in La Salle Villemar, Verdun, the Conservatives are not a factor, but the NDP is, because they are running a very strong municipal candidate, and so is the Bloc. So if there's enough disaffected vote, that's happening. They also made some very interesting comments about one of the reasons that Pierre Poilievre is not doing well in Quebec. He seems to have hit a ceiling and is now starting to go down, is because he's making that sort of a whole Liberal NDP coalition thing that he's doing in English Canada. He's going all over TV and media in Quebec saying Le Bloc Libéral. And it's like, anybody who's from Quebec is like, dude, do you even know us?
Mm-hmm.
Because if there's one fault line that is very, very clear in Quebec politics, it's federalist sovereigntists.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
It's like, so wait, you're going to come into our home and try to tell us that the Bloc Québécois is a liberal party and that there's any galaxy dimension area code postal code in which the Bloc Québécois and the Liberals are in an alliance?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Dude. So yeah, it's apparently not playing there, not working out for him. Now, if only that could transfer to English Canada, that would be quite helpful.
Well,
yes. Mr. Grizzly, words of wisdom, please.
Remember to breathe. I'm going to try and do a show this evening to talk about the stresses that I'm feeling right now as the march of time proceeds further and further forward, and I am beginning to wonder what my relevance in this world is. And this is like an internal struggle that I think we all feel at some point in time. Yeah. And because I don't have a job right now, I'm really beginning to feel it today. And I realize I'm looking at some of the comments here, and people like, get your EI, don't worry, that's all being taken care of. Worst case scenario, I've got a few $1,000s in RRSPs and deferred profit sharing that I'm waiting to find out what's going on, because I've not heard anything from my former employee in 30 days. So I have to send them an email today asking for my ROE. Where is my DPSP and RRSPs? I'm supposed to hear from that company. And also, I'd like a pay statement, because I need to know if you've paid me everything that you owe me, because I don't know that you have, and I've got no way to prove otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So there's things that I need to get today from my former employer, and I'm going to send them an email shortly asking for the things that I'm supposed to receive and I have not received. So yeah, the panic gets in when you see your bank account dip below a certain amount, right? And it's there right now because got to pay the rent, right? So
we're in this.
I'm not destitute, okay? I want people to understand I'm not destitute. I'm just in the panic mode because there's nothing coming in and stuff just keeps going out. So, I'm beginning to, do I still have relevancy? At my age, who wants to hire me is my concern. And now that I've got a broken body. And here's the other thing, too, that I talked about with a couple of friends yesterday. My father suffered an injury a very long time ago in the military, and he fought for years to get a settlement.
Mm-hmm.
And it took him about 10 years to get a settlement.
Yeah.
My body is
broken. People were telling him to give up, but your mom wasn't having it.
My mom and my sisters would not let him. And he got his money. And he got supports from them that he now has. My body is broken, and I have nobody to turn to. Nobody. A lot of the companies that I worked for don't exist anymore. Or they've been bought up or sold off or split up or whatever the case may be. So, and these are repetitive stress injuries over 30 years. So what's my recourse there? I've broken my body for nothing, and I have zero recourse. And that is a problem while I'm seeking a new job. And who's going to want to retrain me at 56? I've got 9 working years left, by all metrics. Am I still relevant? Look, my life's ambition, if you will, has been to do what we're doing right here, right now, to use the gift that I have been given of this deep voice, to utilize it to earn a living. We do this podcast. We have never made it secret that we intend to earn a living at this. But there's just no money coming in. So, I am getting into the mild panic mode, if you will. mild panic mode.
Yeah. I'm familiar with that panic mode. We had it recently, not so much because we don't have revenue, but because all the bills for the renovations came in.
Yeah.
Looking at our bank account, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's not a number I'm used to seeing. Also looking at what's on the line of credit. That's also a number I'm not used to seeing. So, yeah, it's every now and then as you sit there and for when I think of my Beaver sweetie, because he's a teacher, and after every session, he doesn't know whether or not he has a contract.
Right.
Like right now, we know he's working until January. We assume he will still be working after, given that they keep on they have been renewing him every term since he started, but that's not a guarantee. I mean, just in this the session that's about to start, there was one class that he was supposed to have that got removed from his list of teaching because of the recent changes to the immigration rules with regard to foreign students. There wasn't enough students that registered for that section, so they didn't need a second or a third section that he was going to be teaching. So it's all of a sudden it's like, oh, I thought I had 15 hours of instruction a week. Now I've got 12. Oops. Yeah. So if that happens over like 2 or 3 classes, then all of a sudden, you sign something saying, okay, yes, provisionally I will have, because it's about 15 hours maximum instruction, and then there's 2 hours of preparation time for every hour of class. Right. So that makes it about a 45-hour week. I'm sitting there like, oh, okay, yes, I've signed all these documents, X number of months ago saying that, yes, these are the ones I will take, and look at enrollment. And it's like, oh, well, yeah, we don't need you for that one. And, well, we thought we would have needed you for that one, but the person that was teaching is coming back from maternity leave. So we have an extra staff now, and we have to give them those positions. And then, sorry, yeah, we thought you were going to be teaching 15 hours, but you're only going to be teaching 3.
Yeah.
Sorry, that can happen.
Yeah, that's a gut punch, huh?
Yeah. So, and then all of a sudden you're scrambling. I guess you're writing other departments. Do you have anybody who hasn't showed up? Yeah. Whatever it is, I'll teach it. So, yeah, it's different angles, different pressures, but yeah, I feel you, my friend. It's
well, I did.
I will do whatever I can to help. But
oh, thank you. I did. About a week ago, I had a bit of an epiphany moment, if you will, and I had discussed it with Bridget, and I said, I think it's time to reinvent myself, because I don't know if I can. I can't go back to doing what I did 3 years ago, and the position I had up until recently, just there's nobody there. They've eliminated it. So I said, I think it's time I reinvent myself. And reinventing myself is I am a podcaster, a voice actor, a narrator, and a producer. And this is what I am. So now it's just a matter of when you have those moments of self-doubt, and we all have them, and I'm, kind of going through that right now, because I don't see any money rolling in. The self-doubt is hitting me hard, but I know I am capable of getting some voice contracts. I know I can. And it's not just this voice. It's this voice, and this voice, and this voice, and all of the other voices and accents I can do, So I know that there's work out there. It's just a matter of going out and hustling and finding it. And in the meantime, I have to beat back the demon of anxiety and say, no, go to hell. I'm winning, not you. Yeah. And that's the struggle I'm in right now. So yes, I am reinventing myself. I will be a podcaster, a producer, a voiceover narration artist. That is what I am doing. Now I need to speak to a couple of friends. Do I need to get an agent? Do I just apply everywhere I see? Because what we're doing right here, right now, I can do this for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't, there's no physical harms to me in doing this. I can do this all day long. I can stand up and speak at the mic when I need to stand up to stretch my back out. So it's the hustle that I got to get my butt in gear and do it. And I need to get the anxiety out of the way, get the defeatist attitude out of the way, and just march down the street and say, here I am. I'm ready to work. Give me some work.
Yeah, indeed. All right, Mr. Grizzly, please cue the cock.
I can do that. I have the technology.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right. Saw a couple of things in the chat. So yes, a shout out to Jacob Wasserman, who competed. He was the rowing team.
Yes.
For Team Canada at the Paralympics. His first Paralympics didn't medal. That's quite all right. In fact, his time compared to other times was far from the fastest. But in interviews, he's saying he's more fit than he ever has been. It's his first participation. He's very young. He's only he's totally new to the sport.
Exactly.
So that he was able to get that far that quickly is a testament. There was another para athlete. I think one of the people who won a bronze, I think, had started only in the last 2 years and had already gotten there. So, right, that's really, really important. But I very, very, very much look forward to him getting stronger and faster because we will be seeing him again.
Oh, absolutely.
No doubt there.
I have something quickly for you. That's
okay.
This is a bit of a surprise. This just came across my feed a few minutes ago. And this does not come as a shock. This report is an aha moment. The federal government has been paying far more to the provinces than they admit. Federal health transfers increased 212%, but the provinces only increased 158%. If your healthcare sucks, blame your premier.
All right, let's bookmark that because we'll have to talk about that tomorrow.
Yeah, it is bookmarked, sir. We will discuss it tomorrow. All right, I got to go. I got to take my puppy out before she soils the place.
Okay. And by the way, Kit PNC Bio said because he loved the picture of Milo. He said, pet parade, send your pictures. So if you do, we'll put them in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like this. The damn fam pets, we've got them. If you send them, we'll put them up.
All right.
All right.
I'll see you.
Love ya.